Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Brad. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Randy?
Doing well, thank you. Hi,
Good.
Courtney. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
Hi, Justin. Hi, Stacy.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Rachel. Cindy's joining. Nice to see you all today.
Yeah.
Going to share my screen. Let's see if you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes.
Thank you. And let's go up to the top. Okay, so how many of you have Command that joined today in your top 5? I see Courtney. Who else? Cindy, I see your eyeballs, by the way. Just thought you might want to know. I can't hear you, but I can see your mouth moving. Anybody else? There you go. Anybody else have this in their top 5 or even top 10? No? Okay, where is it for you guys?
30.
30?
25. 25.
25?
24.
Uh-huh.
Not even on the sheet.
Yeah. Brad, what about you?
18.
18. Okay. And my brother's supposed to be joining today. We'll see if he joins or not, but he has it in his top 5 as well. Okay, so we might have 2 commanders that you get to hear from today. I actually work with a lot of commanders. I actually have a lot of people in my life as friends that are commanders. So hopefully I'll be able to give you some really great insights today on this. It is one of the most rare strengths. It's only found 5% of the time in a person's top 5 strength capacity. As you can probably tell on this call, we've only got 1 person so far on the call with Command in their top 5. So what does that tell us? If something's really rare like that, what should we take note of?
You guys are special.
Yes, they're special.
That's the word I was thinking of, special.
Yeah.
Brad, what way do you think about that when you hear somebody is unique? Where do your thoughts go?
Well, they're outside of the norm for sure. And I tend to think of them as at the top end of the top end, almost like the top 2%.
Yeah, because what you do is you go, oh, this is something special to actually leverage and maximize.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because Brad has individualization as a top 5 strength. So he loves these unique strengths that bring, a different skill set to the table that he can leverage in his business endeavors. The other thing that might come to mind is we may not understand them. As we go through this, I hope you guys will have a lot of questions around understanding Command, if it has been an issue for you, or if you just want to understand it better. You can see that it falls into the influencing side of things. And on the work zone, it falls into the first category, the directive zone. Okay, so it is someone who sees the big picture, naturally directs, and sees what needs to be done. So here's the traits. They know what they want to see happen. They have natural presence and influence. They easily take control and make decisions. They embrace conflict. They persuade and negotiate with ease. They're very steady and reassuring during crisis. They speak very candidly, very plainly, very directly. They, above anything else, believe in truths and facts and honesty. And that's why they are so direct, because they truly believe that if we all hear the truth and we understand exactly what is happening, then we can resolve it. Okay. They believe conflict is the first steps towards resolution.
So does that suggest they're not very diplomatic?
It depends. That's my answer for everything.
Fair.
Because command is a part of their personality. It's not them as a whole. So it depends, what else do they have that can make them diplomatic? That's a nice transition, Courtney. Hopefully you can talk. Are you able to talk on the call, Courtney? And unmute?
Yes.
Okay, Courtney has this very rare combination called command and harmony, which means, if you guys remember, harmony is non-conflict oriented and command is conflict oriented. So then you might be asking yourselves, how does that work? Right? Courtney, can you just share with the group here how it works for you?
Yeah. And it was funny when I went through my results with Brandy, because my number 1 is command and then my number 5 is harmony. And when I was reading through the description of harmony, I kind of got mad. I was like, I'm not harmonious. Like, this doesn't make sense. But when I started thinking about it, I was like, no, I'm glad I have that as a part of it, because I think if, like Brandy was saying, you just have command and it's all conflict, that can be, it could be negative if you let it. But the harmonious part that I bring to the honesty is that I still want the group to be on board with the decision. I still want everyone to feel heard and that they also got to bring their honest ideas to the table, and that we can move forward together, hopefully mostly being on the same page, and that there's an understanding of why we got to that decision. So that's one of the ways I would say that they work together.
Yep. That's great. Does that make sense to you? Do you have questions?
Well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So command is found with strategic a lot. So if command is somewhere nearby, if command is in top 5, we're looking for strategic somewhere nearby. Okay. That happens about 35% of the time. What you never see command paired with is developer or discipline. And by the way, you guys are super lucky to have someone on the call that has command as a number 1. I think I'm pretty sure you're the only person in my database that has command as number 1. And so, again, if you guys have questions for Courtney, please ask, because she's only here for the first 30 minutes. Okay. When command is paired with achiever, it's intensified, because now you're commanding achievement. Okay. And you're achieving command. When it's paired with activator, it's intensified. Both activator and command naturally lead and effectively resolve roadblocks and bottlenecks. That's a trait of both of theirs. So if you have both of those strengths in your top 5, then you're going to be intensified. When belief and command are paired together, they intensify each other, because belief, when they don't believe in something, they immediately reject it, where command has an emotionally charged response to threats and resistance. And belief believes in being ethical, and command believes in being honest. And belief sets direction based on what they believe, and command easily sets direction. So when you have someone with belief and command, they're extremely strong personality. Okay. It's intensified with communication. It's intensified with competition. Does anybody have these pairings in their top 5?
I do. I have the command with the achiever.
Yeah. So, you can think of not just a regular command or a regular achiever, but an intensified achiever and command. So right now you've got those to the second power. Okay. Let's look at more and see if you have more.
And I noticed your brother joined the call too. So I'm curious to get his.
Yeah. And we can look at his strengths, even if he hasn't joined.
Oh, he's on.
Oh, he joined.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
Hello, you're our second commander. Thank you for joining.
All right.
Okay, so let's go back really quick. You don't have any of these combinations. How about these? Nope, I know you don't have those either, but you're on the next page. You have some combinations. And then Courtney, you have harmony here. So now you've got command to the 3rd power, because it was intensified by achiever, and now it's intensified by harmony, which again is a really rare combination. But the reason why they intensify is because Command enforces clarity and alignment, while Harmony aims to get everyone into agreement and alignment. So they both got the same goal. They just come at it completely differently.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go to the next one, because Trevor, you have focus and maximizer, which means you are also got command.
Correct.
Intensified. Mm-hmm. Courtney, do you have any of these?
I do not.
Okay. So you guys can see that command has a lot of intensifications. So if you do have command, you can just already assume you're intensified in some way.
But you don't know it.
You don't know it until you see it on paper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you talk to Brandy and then you're like, yes.
Right. Right. Because I actually don't think I'm necessarily all that intense. But then you know, it gets shown to me how scary it can be to other people to hear me jump into conversations.
Yeah.
We in fact had it last night. I was thinking about that last night, Brandy, in our group text that all of a sudden I got involved in. There was I've got rental properties, and I have a tenant that their expectations were that repair folks were going to be out there over the weekend to fix the washing machine. And that didn't occur. It was Mother's Day. One of the contractors forgot. But I know behind the scenes, one of the tenants was probably holding off doing laundry because their washing machine is loud, not even broke, just loud. And all of a sudden their plans got changed. They didn't get the new washer, and they were upset, and they weren't very kind in a Google Voice group chat. And in that group chat, we've got 3 pretty people, all happy type folk, and when into the group and said, "Well, how come I wasn't notified sooner?" I mean, and I was like, "This is my question." I came and I think I sent my sister said hashtag ball.
You're cutting out. You're cutting out for me. Is anybody else getting that, or can you hear him?
Yeah, it's choppy.
Yeah,
Maybe if he turns
okay.
his video off, his connection will be a little stronger.
All right, you're a little choppy. And what he's explaining is that there's about 7 different people in this group, and the tenant was quite rude to all of us. And so I called him because I was like, I don't know how you want us to handle this. And so he was like, you know, oh, let me go read, you know, what was written. And we had agreed when we got off the phone that I would write some, you know, maybe write some nice message back. And before I could do anything, he comes in, you know, as we call it, like a wrecking ball. Are you still there, Trevor?
Yes, now I'm unmuted, but no video. Yes.
Okay, let's try that. So come in with your wrecking ball.
Yeah. So, you know, I honestly, I sing this song in my head a lot. I feel like it might be a little bit my theme song, because I don't mind coming in like a wrecking ball. I really do feel like constructive conflict and collateral damage is actually progress. Now, I don't mean to do that to be mean.
Yes.
But for me to come in and create an explosion, well, the mountain's gone. So now we can move forward. There's no more mountain.
Right.
And not everybody's comfortable with shrapnel and you know, the mountain exploding and blowing off all over the place, but it's no longer there.
Yeah.
And so I came in and blasted everyone. And I said, I mean, the first line of my sentence was something like, I'm
gonna end.
Yeah. I said, hey, this is Trevor. So I know everybody just stopped breathing right then. And then I said, I'm going to change the tone of this conversation before anybody gets into a fight, or something that was that aggressive. And to me, it was super aggressive, and it was super shock and awe. And then I came in with the second paragraph, and I told everyone what we're going to focus on. And I said, and I apologized. I said, look, I'll take responsibility. I'm sorry. This should have been done differently. I understand it sucks. And I'm even, in a professional space, I'm using those words. I'm just being as real and approachable as possible. Mm-hmm. And I just told everyone, look, yes, it sucks. It happened, but we don't need to dig into who said and who should have and who failed and dropped the ball. But I didn't mind the conflict, and it allowed everybody just to step back and start realizing what was actually important, because the world just got a little scarier.
Yeah. And Courtney, do you feel the same way, where, you're not afraid to cause that collateral damage if necessary?
Yeah, I never worded it as collateral damage, just because it sounds harsh. But now that, as Trevor's talking that same scenario, I would probably approach it the same way. Like, I just want to get the elephant out of the room. I'll bring it up. I'm not afraid to bring it to the focal point, and talk it through. Like, the conflict part of it doesn't even cross my mind. It's not even that I'm afraid of it. I don't even think of it as a hurdle. It's just, that's what you do to get through the situation.
Right. Trevor, by the way, you joined a little late. Courtney has harmony and command in her top 5. Yeah.
That's tricky.
Yeah. It's interesting.
At least,
yeah.
How about woo? Where's that fall in?
Yeah, I don't think either one of you have woo in your top 10.
No.
Well, it does say in the command definition to go find somebody with woo, because you don't have woo. You are absent and sucking the woo out of the world.
Yes. Yes. but you're highly influential, like a woo.
That's right.
You just use presence. So here's the disconnectors for command. And you guys, when I go through this, what I do is I go, okay, let me go look at the other strengths, and then let me look at the strengths of the command, and let's just see if there's things that could be problematic. This does not mean that you do not get along with these strengths in their entirety. I just literally took the definitions of Gallup and said, this could be a problem for this person, or this could be a problem for this person because of this element, this one or two elements within the descriptions or definitions of the strengths. So for example, command enjoys commanding and really loves it when other people follow their orders, where achievers are proactively executing towards a purpose autonomously and don't necessarily feel like they need a lot of orders or they're going to be order taking. And in fact, command and achiever are only paired together in a person's top 5 strength capacity 4% of the time. So they're kind of like on different ends of the spectrum. Okay. Both activator and command can cause some collateral damage, as we called it, and our leader are going to take the reins and lead, and they're a little bit impatient, so that can cause some conflict. Analytical or naturally skeptical. So what happens with them is they're asking who, what, where, when, why, how, and that could be perceived as resistance to a commander, and a command naturally defends against resistance. Belief will put up a strong resistance to something they don't believe in. And again, command might come in and defend against that resistance. Command against command can be trouble, because you got 2 really strong personalities that want to take the reins and want to lead. And if you don't need 2 leaders, then you're going to step all over each other. High communication is, wanting to captivate the room and present and storytell, and command also wants to, take the lead in the room, command the attention of the room. So those people could, potentially step on each other. Deliberators are risk averse, while command is very comfortable taking risk. Developers are naturally nurturing and patient, and they're trying to cultivate small increments of growth, where command are a little bit more like, yeah, let's just push, let me challenge, let me confront, let's go. On the discipline side, discipline are regimented and structured, where command offers unique ideas and approaches. So it's a little bit more abstract, but both of them need to feel in control. Empathy's top priority is not to hurt people's feelings. Commanders speak plainly and directly about sensitive topics. They easily present the truth and facts, no matter how unpleasant. So if a commander is, hurting feelings, an empath could get, up in arms about that. Both command and focus need to feel in control, and focus can be a bit impatient. So that could be a potential issue. And then if someone has harmony, this could be a huge problem. And Courtney, this is why you're such an anomaly, because command believes in confrontation, as the first step towards resolution, where harmony hates conflict, confrontation, arguments, debates, and friction. Command imposes views and opinions, where harmony believes it's a waste of time and that there is little to be gained by imposing views and opinions.
Bingo.
Command commands, harmony hears everyone's voice. So lots of differentiators in those two strengths. Those are at completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Includers, commanders easily present the truth and facts no matter how unpleasant, where includers don't like hurting people's feelings. Okay, they're closer to those empaths. Both self-assurance and command are extremely self-confident. They easily direct, lead, persuade, influence. Self-assurance has unique, distinct perspective, just like command, so they could step on each other, okay? And you're gonna see in a minute, they could also be best friends if they respect each other and they're strategic advisors and they actually do the same types of things, but they come at it differently, they could appreciate each other as well. So again, they could be disconnectors, they could be connectors for that set of people.
You know, it's going back to my first marriage. My ex-wife is definitely a command, and yes. I am 100% harmony. And the way we approached life, two polar opposites.
Yes.
And it just anytime from returning an item back to the store to, you know, whatever, we would approach things completely different. And it just was ugly. It was absolutely an ugly situation.
What are your other strengths, John?
Get it pulled up here. Sorry.
That's okay. Because the reason I ask is because if you're harmonic, but you don't need to be in control, you might also just be able to let go.
Yeah. I'm definitely a let go type person.
I guess you might have to be with her.
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, I had it pulled up. Where'd it go?
Where did it go? Take your time. I want to bring up.
Oh, here it is. Adaptability, includer, communication, and belief. Top 5.
Well, you got belief.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you didn't believe in the way she was doing things, that's where you're going to come on strong and be like, yeah, no, this is not okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. To give you guys another perspective, Trevor and I work together closely every week. And we get along great. You know, I understand his command. He understands my harmony. We both work really hard at understanding one another because we're very different. We're very different in the way we approach things and do things, but we also see how to leverage each other as a team. And so it's like I'm, said before, these slides don't mean you are not going to get along with that person. You can get along great if you guys both want to and take the time to really understand each other and try to work with each other instead of against each other. Okay.
And holistically, I mean, in the spirit of Gallup Strengths, I mean, we're all taught that if we can find a way to live and breathe our leisure activities, our work, our parenting, our relationshiping, if we're able to operate in our top 5 strengths, we'll be more successful and will exert less energy and will, outshine because we're operating in our strength space.
That's exactly
well. So
right.
Similar to what Brandy's saying here, like she and I do work extremely well together, but it is not without a pretty substantial amount of effort on both of our parts.
Yeah.
We will have to exhaust ourselves from time to time because it's worth working well together and appreciating those other strengths, even though it's not our built-in nature.
And I think if one of us cared and the other one didn't, it wouldn't work.
Agreed. I 100% agree with that. And I've seen that in marriages of marriage, my previous marriage, and then also other friendships and other, parenting relationships I've watched and observed. Yeah. If one side cares and puts the effort in, the other side doesn't, it's going to result in resentment.
Yeah, exactly.
So Brandy, do you have command in your top 5?
I have it at like 13 or something.
Oh, just curious.
Yeah, so it's not my top 10, but it's close enough, just kind of like competition. It's close enough for me to get it, for me to understand. And I want you guys to be thinking about where it's amazing to use command. Because for example, when I teach fitness classes, if I did anything less than command, people couldn't follow me, right? So that's when I kind of dig deep and bring on the command piece, and where, let's say this, where I feel comfortable using it, because command is also about giving commands, right? So if I'm giving commands and everybody knows what to do, then I feel like, and my learner kicks in, I feel like I'm teaching well. So think about, where it's great for people to come in and sell and negotiate, to stand up for others, like a lawyer, to fight against a resistance. If you have a whole engineering team that's just full of resistance, a commander could come in and break that up and influence them. So there's lots of really interesting scenarios of where commanders are going to do better than any of the rest of us, because of the strengths that they have.
And to that question about whether Brandy has command in her top 5, she does not. However, our father does.
I don't think he has it in top 5, man. I think he has it
6?
Top 10. Let's look really quick.
Okay, I thought it was either 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah, let's look. Go ahead. What you're going to say?
But he's got activator. So we talked about that a few slides ago.
Yes.
The point I was making is 2 command people can work together, though. I wondered if that was the base for the question of whether she had command in her top 5 and she and I working together. My father and I just built a Jeep together from the ground up, and our relationship actually got closer through it. Even though we've got 2 master commanders, 2 strategizers, him an activator, which drives me bonkers, and it still brought our relationship closer, in fact.
And what's interesting is that my dad, raised my brother, of course. So my dad was alpha growing up. But when you look at the strengths, and my dad has strategic here and command. Can you guys all see this? These are my dad's strengths on the screen. Yeah. So my dad had strategic, competition, activator, focus, significance, command. I mean, very, very intense achiever. And then when you look at Trevor's command is actually much higher, and he has strategic at the top. And so then you kind of get, Trevor being a bit more alpha. And in this Jeep project, Trevor is the visionary. He's the one who's leading where we're going, what we're doing, and what the end result needs to look like. Where if we go back to my dad's results, you can also see a lot of execution in my dad's, top strengths with achiever and competition. And so my dad gets to do a lot of the work. And so the partnership actually works pretty good.
And Brandy, looking at Trevor's strengths, I was curious. So harmony is almost at the end. So is that more common to see those 2?
That's exactly what you would normally see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since they're more opposite strengths.
And you can see a lot of those opposites down here, right? Developer, empathy, adaptability, harmony, includer, the ones that, said that there could be potentially conflict with or misunderstanding, right?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's go back. So connectors could be analytical, because both commanders and analytical seek the truth, seeks the fact. And I want to show you guys another combination really quickly. I'm going to show you the Spiker couple. Okay, these are some good friends of mine. Adam has command in his top strengths. So you can see he's looking pretty influential like Trevor. And he's got my dad's competition up there, competition, command, significance. You don't see influential strengths like this up at the top very often, but when you do see them at the top, you typically see a lot at the top like this. You can see a lot at the top. They clump together. Now his wife, who he gets along with wonderfully, is far more execution oriented. And so he runs the vision of the martial arts studio that they have. And she is the operation manager, basically. But you can see that analytical, which connects them, and they are very blunt with each other, but not threatened because they're on the same team. The deliberative is completely opposite. To have a commander, someone who takes charge, see the big picture, can make decisions quickly, that's completely opposite of her deliberative. And she's told me she would never have become an entrepreneur or run a business without him at her side, because he's the futurist, he's the strategist, he's the marketing guy. And then she brings the achiever, discipline, focus, all the execution on the execution side. And she organizes everything and, make sure everybody's doing what they need to be doing, all that stuff.
This is great. I wish I could stay longer. And then my command's number 1 and analytical's number 2. So that's,
oh, wow. Yeah. So you're
hand.
commanding analytics and you're analyzing your command.
Yes. But hope to join the next one. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you for joining for a little bit. Appreciate you.
Bye.
See ya. Okay, guys. Input, intellection, or learner could all be connectors for command because they all just love to learn and they love getting perspective and they love getting information, and commanders are happy to, share their views and opinions with others. Responsibility is a great connector for command. Responsibility is ethical. They have integrity, they're dependable, they're honest, and command really, really values those types of people. So those two strengths connect really well together. And restorative also seek the truths, they seek the root cause, which could also connect really well with commander. Again, self-assurance and strategic, like I was saying before, can become strategic advisors with command if they are not stepping on each other, but rather there's a level of respect. Trevor, any thoughts on that one about who you've connected well with in relation to your command? Because I think sometimes you get really connected with who works well with your strategic, but have you found anybody that you specifically thinks works with your command, like a personality type? Doesn't have to be strengths, Gallup strengths.
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to nail, it's the inquisitive folk. I'm trying to remember which strength it is. It's the ones that, these three. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the ones that are asking questions. Yep, I would definitely agree with that. They're easy. They're actually wanting to learn from me.
Right.
And so the validation of being a good commander, or the one that knows a thing or two about taking the risk or calling the shot, and even if I'm wrong, we'll make it right along the way. They're the ones that will actually, they want to learn from that. They want to understand this phenomenon that is not them. And there's like an understudy kind of tone and feel, right. Which I think creates a natural trust. And so if they then have like an executionary strength as well, now you've got inquisition, validation, easy roles, and then also execution to follow.
Right. And if they have a support function like developer, that's even better, because then you get the inquisitiveness, the execution, and the support.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I've worked, incredibly well with the Rangers, and maybe some of that's command, but a lot of that's probably strategic.
I think that one's strategic. Yep.
Yeah. But it plays nicely as well with that support function.
Yeah, and they're executionists. They love to do. So if they, if they're in a ranger that needs direction, then you're able to provide that for them. Okay, let's keep going, guys. So you're not going to get the best out of command if you threaten them, you meet them with resistance, you refuse to be aligned, you're not willing to take risks, you're not welcoming their candidness, their honesty, their plain ways of speaking. If you don't want them to lead or take charge, if you're resisting their command, that's not going to go over well for them as well. If you're constantly not allowing them to fix the problems, right? Break up the bottlenecks, chop away at the roadblocks. Like if you're just continuously creating more or being part of the problem, that's very, very frustrating for them. Now, interestingly enough, even though you may not see the best out of them during those states, that's also where they step up and shine to some degree. Because when resistance does need to be met, when people need to be protected, when someone needs to be stood up for, when the truth needs to come out, these are things that they feel extremely passionate about. And although they may do it in a very straightforward, direct, plain manner, they can get resolution to these things as well, because they're not afraid of conflict, and they're not afraid of hurting people's feelings if necessary. It's not like they want to go around hurting people's feelings, but they're not going to be stopped by it if it's the right thing to do. If they get to be in a position of setting direction, leading, influencing, making decisions, selling, all of that kind of stuff, that's when they're really going to be shining. And most of the commanders that I know are in some type of sales role. I would say 85% of them are. Maybe even 90, now I think about that a little closer. Okay, so what they love hearing is that people want to follow them. They love their leadership. They love hearing how charismatic they are, persuasive they are, that they make good decisions, that they have presence, that they're, you know, master negotiators. They love, you know, the validation that they are protecting us. They are taking care of their peeps. These are the things they like to be acknowledged for. What they're going to hear when they're using their command, but it's not exactly welcome in that moment, is they're going to hear, you're scaring me, you're forceful, you're intimidating me, you're threatening, you're very opinionated, you're so confrontational, you're making me feel resentful, you're imposing your, views and opinions on me. So these are the types of things that they're going to hear when, again, they're flexing the command strength, but it's in an environment where that's just not working. And this is just becoming strength intelligent, to go, my command's just not really working right now here. Unless they want that result, then they need to turn on another strength, a relationship building strength, an execution strength, or a thinking strength, to try to approach the situation differently. I'm going to skip past that one because we've already kind of talked about that. Okay, so when they're talking, and you probably heard this with Courtney and Trevor today, they're very happy and willing to confront. They both have, you could hear the strength in their communication. They're very decision-making. So if you're talking with them, they're ready to make a decision right there. If you bring something up around, resistance or a problem, they immediately go into protect mode and defend mode. What do I need to do about this? So these are some of the things you can listen for when you are speaking to someone and wondering if they have command. I have met introverted commanders and extroverted commanders. Most are extroverted, but I've recently met one that's highly academic. She has all of the academic strengths except for her top command. She has command at 1 or 2. And she has the same strength, and she has the same reactions, and she has the same tone, but she's just a little bit more quiet about it. So they both exist. If we're to communicate effectively with command, we need to be willing to be open and honest. We need to be willing to seek clarity and get to the bottom of things. We need to definitely refrain from attacking someone, putting them in a position where they feel backed into a corner or they feel threatened. You're not going to see the best come at you. You're going to see that wrecking ball come at you rather than working for you if you approach a commander that way. And if you are going to threaten them in any way, you need to be 100% ready to follow through with that, because they feel like a threat is you're serious about it, and you're 100% going to do what you say you're going to do because they do what they say they're going to do.
A quick question: when there is conflict, do you need to ask somebody with command to jump in, or do they just automatically jump in?
What do you think?
Well, I'm thinking automatically jump in, but Trevor?
Yeah, it's super hard for me to have my microphone on mute this whole conversation.
Well, that answers that. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they jump in right away and resolve it. I mean, last night, I mean, Brad, I was typing up and talking to Michaela and typing up to Trevor, and and then he just texted and slammed in and was like, he couldn't take it. Right? It's like, there's a conflict here. It needs to be resolved. We're going to squash this right now. They just come in and settle it.
Yeah, I know that whatever explosion or damage that I cause, I can probably fix it. So I'm just willing to immediately and I have to like, how we write up our first draft of an email. I think a lot of us do it regardless of strengths. And then we set the email aside and we come back to it and we rewrite the whole thing before we send it. And then, sleep on something and actually address it the next day because we're in that emotional state. that erratic emotional state, I feel like is part of my command. Brandy, and I think, I don't know if you have this in a later slide, but it was interesting. Yeah, we just discovered that it wasn't, I don't remember the words. It wasn't logical. It was emotional.
Emotionally
rather than somebody
charged is the way you have an emotionally charged response to things that come up against you, resistance or threats.
Yeah.
Or not just you, but to the people you care about too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like absolute, doesn't make any sense, completely irrational and over the top. And all of a sudden you're blowing things up and wrecking things. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, those were burned bridges. Like that's been normal in my world. And I've had to navigate my way away from them. And
luckily Trevor has high strategic, so he's able to navigate. And he also has high individualization like you, Brad. So he is really easily understands people's psychology and what he needs to do and what he needs to say to influence them. And, you know, the command doesn't, I mean, I would say it kicks in on a weekly basis, but it's a mild command on a weekly basis, right? It only kicks in on full force, you know, full throttle command to the fourth power when, you know, something huge hits and it's deceptive and people are going to get hurt and all of that's happening all at the same time. That's when the highly strategic, really strong command, focused maximizing command comes into play.
I think you give me too much credit for the frequency.
Do you feel emotionally charged?
Frequently? My gosh, I'm really not wanting to say that it's weekly, but I feel like maybe that's more accurate.
Well, you also have high focus, which is impatient, right? It's the efficiency one, saying we just need to be efficient. We just need to be efficient. So that one, you know, causes that. Why are we moving this slow? You know, why aren't we moving faster? So you have multiple strengths that play into that. It's not just command that causes some of the frustration, you know, on a weekly basis.
Nonetheless, I appreciate the frequency you gave me credit for. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
He's basically on call and ready.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. On this call, somebody say something. Let's do this.
Selling and influences command is easy. They naturally do all these things. I'll kind of fly past this because they just naturally know how to persuade. It's a unique talent that they have that they were either genetically born with or that was created young, and they've studied how to get people to do things that they wouldn't have done otherwise. They're very, very strong there. Okay. If you want to sell or influence them, you know, you need to be on your game, presenting the truths, the facts, the risks. You need to let them lead the conversation, ask for their views, ask for their opinions. You know, you don't need to necessarily lead a conversation to sell to them. They're going to ask you what questions they have. They're going to, you know, sort out what they think they should do. They're not going to be told what they should do. So when you're selling to a command or influencing a command, it's better to actually take a step back and sort of guide them with information, guide them with whatever it is they are saying they need for you to get to them in order for them to come to a conclusion whether they're going to buy your products or services. Is that pretty accurate, Trevor?
Yeah, the word that was going through my head there was vulnerability. If somebody comes at me with vulnerability, I will reflect it. The trust has to be so high for me not to come out with guns blazing.
Yeah.
If I sense any sort of ulterior motive or agenda and my trust drops, well, now my command is through the roof.
Right. And that's,
but if someone will just own up and honest, no matter, you know, how ugly, again, conflict doesn't bother me. So someone can own up an absolutely horrible, hideous, awful truth, but I'm right there with them. Now we're locked arms in it together because we got trust.
Yeah, and that's very interesting to say that command actually becomes collaborative when there's just simple, flat out, plain trust between the two parties. Yep.
Kill them with kindness and honesty.
Yep. Okay, so if you're in an interview and you have command, there's lots of ways to show how you have positively impacted an environment. For example, you can talk about the bottlenecks and roadblocks that have been broken up and resolved because of the approach, and you know, talking about the values of the candidness, the truth, the honesty will go over well in an interview. Discussing how you've gotten people to do things with the persuasiveness, the influence, the sales. Like I said, most command people are interviewing for a consulting job, a sales job. So they are going to have to show their results of their command some way in an interview. If you are questioning whether or not you're facing a commander, you can ask yourself, is this person confrontational at times? Does this person seem to be very comfortable being upfront and candid? Does the person seem to be comfortable with confrontation? Does he or she seem to have an emotionally charged response to a threat or a challenge? If you're getting the sense of all these things, then you know you're dealing with a commander. And I've written some of the words down here that they use, that they respect, that they like to hear, so that if you are working and collaborating with a commander, you know that you're good to go to use these words if you want to engage their brain. And it doesn't have to be like against them, but if you're just talking about some other thing and you're using these words, their brains automatically engage when they're hearing these words. Okay, so for your commanders, if you guys are, you know, close to commanders, either in your working relationship and relationships, you know, they can be a bit scary, right? Because they do have these emotionally charged responses, and it only takes one or two to just, you know, send the fear through your veins. So, you know, they need to proactively ask for people's thoughts and opinions to get people to share those with them, because people just may not, because they're afraid, you know, well, I don't know what the reaction is going to be to this. And if I don't know that and they're, you know, reacting out of fear, then they may not share what their thoughts or opinions are. So a commander needs to just make sure and proactively ask. They need to explain why they are so candid. The fact that it feels uncomfortable to keep things bottled up, you know, not because you want to frighten people into silence, not all the time anyway, right? But the fact that you just got to get everything out on the table, and so that the truth is on the table and we can just address it. Some people may feel resentful because of the commanding language or presence. They might take it as disrespectful or inconsiderate. And so it's important to solicit other people's views and opinions and thoughts and feelings to ensure their contribution, and also to take the time to discuss your intent. So I kind of just said that twice. Be aware of exerting control becomes a detriment rather than a strength. And I have a new slide for you guys today, so we'll come back to that. You easily intimidate others, so you could unintentionally be causing others to not want to work with you. Consider how you deliver feedback, coach, and set expectations to get the best outcome when working with others. Again, some people don't mind the approach, like an analytical, don't mind at all, because they value truth and honesty to the core. Whereas other people who really care about feelings might really, care about the approach, like an includer. Okay, so we're probably not going to get through all of these slides today. We've got slides on collaboration. We've got slides on partnering with other strengths. We've got relationships and parenting, leadership, coaching, managing. Any of these sound interesting to you guys? If you want to go through, because I want to ask today, since we've only got 10 minutes. I do want to show you this one while you're thinking about it. I want to start doing a slide for each strength on when you are using it to the point of detriment, and when not using it enough is to a detriment, and when is sort of optimal. And the reason I bring this up is not because I want to suffocate anybody or not have them use their strength at all. I always want to put people in positions to use their strength so they can use that strength all day long and it works well for them. Like Trevor's command works so well for him in his real estate job, closing deals all day long. It's his negotiation skills are out of this world, and he sells more houses than practically his whole team. What I'm putting this on here for is because I learned from commanders. I learn how to be more of something than what I'm not, or how to, do something less, or how to mix my strengths. As a learner, I can learn some command traits or how to flex some of that command without being a commander. But I can also go, okay, when is it excessive? When is it is it deficient, causing problems on both sides of that scale? And then when is it optimal? So, I think commanders go, okay, when they're being clear and honest, they're getting people aligned, they're being factual, they're making sure integrity is upheld, they're giving the accurate impressions, they're being truthful. This is a very optimal state of command, where if they're using command excessively in an environment that's not asking for it, it can all of a sudden turn into maybe hurtful or embarrassing to someone, or cause mistrust, or be abrasive, or feel unsafe. It could hurt feelings. It could feel uncollaborative. It could cause fear, resentment, and avoidance. Whereas if someone's not being candid enough, right, and using enough command, like harmony, they may come across as unclear, having, distorted facts, or being dishonest, or causing lies and deceit, being distrustful. And I bring this up because I was thinking about a conversation Trevor and I had, where I was trying to share my own perspective on what was happening, but I was kind of putting words into another person's mouth. And I had to step back, and I had to, because he was like, oh, she said this. And I said, no, she didn't say that. I'm interpreting. And so that's not fair to her, that, I'm not being exactly truthful or honest or clear about what she said versus this is my interpretation. So I think I came in on the deficient side of that conversation. And it's something I'm learning from this command strength, right? Is to figure out where to sit in that optimal space and actually be truthful and honest and clear, so that it doesn't get distorted. Any thoughts, questions you want to ask Trevor? Any of these slides you'd like to go to and look at real quick?
I'll offer up something that that I hadn't thought of until today. One of the things, if anybody here on the call is a command, or you work with somebody that is, one of the things that I've learned that I use is I use the command strength sometimes for just a second in a conversation to Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Really great book. He talked, one of the sections in there, it's about negotiating. He was a hostage negotiator for the FBI. And so he, you're not able to lose your negotiations when you have somebody's life on the line. And one of the things he talks about in there is laying the anchor. And so from a sales realm, you hear, someone will say, let's say something's priced at $200, and the person comes in with an offer and says, you know what, 200 is too much. You could either come in at an offer $180, or you could lay a low anchor and you could say, I'd be good with 160. Knowing your 160 is ridiculous, but it lays a subconscious low anchor. And now all of a sudden, the person that goes, no, that's not enough, the price is 200, I'll come down to, and you guys can already probably feel that number is going to be very different in those two conversations. If you hit them with a low anchor of 180. So I do that with command a lot of the times. I'll come in with an extreme shock and awe environment creation, or an extreme, a little bit off the rails response. And I'll say, well, we just need to do it this way, or we just need to tear the whole building down, or we just need to, something that is outrageously incredible, knowing that I'm going to throttle myself back to a real space of actual thoughtfulness and a good strategy. But I will lean on that command just so I can borrow my own emotional erraticacy just for a second. That's amazing. So you use your emotional response that occurs to your advantage, and you don't necessarily react to it, but rather think about it and go, oh, this could be an anchor. And then you just lay it down. And it's so
exuberant that people are like, no, no, no. That's a large emotional response. We don't need to knock the building down, right? That's crazy, Trevor. And then but that helps you from a sales perspective, get them back up to where you need them to be. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, even from a contract negotiating, if I'm working with a buyer and a seller counter offers to us, and the buyer is being incredibly emotional with me, and they're like, that is so rude, that is unfair. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. And I'll start getting emotional and I'll say, forget this whole deal. Let's just crush the whole thing. I'll call them up. I'll even be rude. And they're like, wait. Don't be crazy.
Yeah.
And I just took it way further than they thought. And now all of a sudden they have to slow me down, and we're back into a sensible conversation.
Right. Very, very interesting. What other questions do you guys have for command? You guys want to see the leadership slide? If I can find it. There it is.
Trevor, your verbal skills meet your needs.
Yeah. It's taken a lot of work. I would love to say that I have all these polished executions, but we did say the words collateral damage earlier in this conversation. So there's been a fair amount of that, some between Brandy and myself, and healing occurs. So yes, I've learned to throttle back and harness some of the positives of some of my strengths, but it has not been a pretty process with some of these extreme things.
Well, and I think everybody can hear on the call, this is an influential strength, naturally influential. It's not a relationship building strength. The relationship strengths are blue. That's your individualization. And so, if the outcome is to build the relationship, then there's a different process. There's a different strength that comes into play. This one is not necessarily for that purpose. This is for influencing and getting people to do the things you need them to do.
Very good.
What else, guys? You guys want to see about relationships, since that could be a tough one? Okay, so if someone has command and they want to contribute to a relationship, they can provide clarification when needed. They can proactively ask for their partner's opinions. They can keep in mind that your partner's on your team. They're not an opposition. Offer to help and resolve bottlenecks. And these are things you can do as a collaborator on a team as well, right? It doesn't have to be with your personal partner. It can be with team. You can steady and reassure your partner during a crisis. Lead the efforts of alignment and clarity between the two people. Offer to use your presence, help persuade, sell, negotiate for the group or for the couple. What you want to see, what you want to see happen. So sharing that with someone and saying, this is what I would like to see happen. What do you want to see happen? Also allows you to take that input in and say, okay, this is what we want to see happen, rather than just what I want to see happen. What else? When you experience resistance, because of course you're going to experience that in a relationship, I think it's important to explore and become curious rather than to defend. And this is tough for people who don't have any relationship building or any inquisitiveness in their top 5. So I wrote that in here because that will help save relationships if the defender really tries not to get defensive, but rather, gets a little bit more curious. Offers the partner unique ideas and approaches, considers the partner's thoughts, feelings, and wishes before making a decision, getting that input first. As they express their opposing views and opinions in a relationship, they've got to refrain from imposing them and influencing that person. It's more of letting that person come around to the idea themselves. Assessing a partner's comfort level with risk. This is huge. If you can assess that ahead of time and then introduce the risk slowly or in chunks or however that person needs to, they might be able to come along and take the risks with you if they're a bit risk adverse. But just slamming risk onto a risk adverse person won't work, obviously. Making sure to come from a place of love and care always when confronting and speaking candidly. That intent will help a lot. And then letting your partner know what you wish for him or her to see that you wish him or her to be as truthful, factual, clear, and honest as possible. And then I think there's got to be a level of forgiveness here, because if they don't have command, or if they don't have high responsibility or high belief, it may be hard for them to be as honest and truthful and candid as a commander. Is that helpful?
Yep. I was going to say, I think also from relationship standpoint, I think there's a conversation that should happen on the front end that a command person really should let someone know to the degree that they have this internal emotional response. Because if you're in a conflict argument with someone you care about, to get really good at, I am going to need a minute, I am going to need some time, and to have to step away.
That's a great point.
It's of the highest, top 1, 2, or 3 emotionally charged strengths.
Yeah.
And you don't care about collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a time bomb waiting to go off if someone won't let me get away and take some space and time so I can come back without that raging inferno inside me.
Yeah.
It's really going to end poorly. But if they know, no, chalk it up to mental illness, I don't care, but let me step away a minute, because I don't have medication for command, and I am going to need some space in a minute, or I'm going to say something that a bell can't be unrung.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I just added that. Take a minute to step away during a disagreement. It's great.
Really important, and make sure you let your partner or your employee, make sure you let them have that ability, mm-hmm. create that for them, or they will inferno everything around them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then vice versa. If you guys have somebody in your life that's high command, you've got to give them the time, especially if they ask, for a minute to step away. You got to give them that time, unless you want the hammer to come down on you.
Yeah. Test it once. Don't give them that space and see if you like that better.
You won't have the relationship anymore.
Well, I mean, they'll apologize probably.
Or someone before them.
Thank you. I don't know if any of y'all caught that. She said, or somebody will apologize for them, because that was last week. Brandy making apologies for me to the people that I blew up. I didn't blow up. It was a level 2 out of 10, but they thought I blew up.
No, it just caused some resentment. That's all. Yeah.
It did. We're healing. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're good. It's progress.
Yeah.
In my line of work, I very seldom use command, and it's not high on my list as well, but it's not an option. It's going to create problems.
Why do you say that?
The type of people I work with, as far as my clientele.
Yeah, maybe commanders should not work with people that are very challenged and have disabilities. Yeah.
You can't put those type of, for lack of a better word, commands on them.
But what if you have a command developer, command empathy? What if it's not command alone? What if it's highly empathetic and they're commanding empathy and they're commanding development and nurturing?
Point taken.
Interesting, right? To think about.
Yeah, I would have to step away and give me a minute to think about that.
Yeah, because someone who commands empathy or commands development could actually do really well with command in that particular arena.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have those combos, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Nope. Wrecking ball.
Okay. Anything else, guys? I have one more announcement if there's no other questions. Any other questions, thoughts, anything else you want to talk about today?
This was great. Thank you.
I will post the slides out on LinkedIn. We were supposed to do discipline next week. I'm not going to be doing that. We're going to take a break next week. I will be unavailable to do this next week. So then the following week, we'll come back and do competition like planned, and we'll take discipline and we'll tack it on to the end of our schedule. I've updated the schedule online. So hopefully no one shows up next week because we won't be online. Okay. Anything else?
Oh, good. Nice to meet you, Trevor.
Thanks. Likewise.
Thank you so much for your candid explanations, Trevor. I think that really helped everybody really understand to the root, what command's all about.
Yep, no problem.
Good to see you, Trevor.
Me too.
Okay, guys, thank you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Brandy.
Welcome.